Hello students, welcome back once again to this channel Aspire to Attain. I think that you have also come to know this channel Aspire to Attain, which is totally devoted to the works of literature, whether it may be explanation, whether it may be the discussion of question answer series from the point of view of net. And today we are going to discuss the famous sonnet, the famous poem Shakespeare, written by Matthew Arnold. In this context, we need to remember one thing, that eulogy is a certain kind of poem where a person gives tribute to another person. So that means that the composer or the writer gives his tribute, gives his heartfelt reverence to another person. Here, similarly, we can see that Matthew Arnold is actually giving his tribute to Shakespeare. So, one thing we must have to remember here, that Matthew Arnold, who himself was a famous critic, a famous writer, is giving his own tribute to that great personality who is most often termed as the father of English drama, and he is none but Shakespeare himself. So, in this poem, we can clearly understand that Matthew Arnold is paying his tribute by means of a sonnet, by means of writing a sonnet, where he expresses his gratitude, where he expresses his concern for Shakespeare and his immortality. But at the same time, we must have to remember that Matthew Arnold is not only giving his tribute, but also placing Shakespeare in the field of English literature in such a gigantic place that we really feel our adoration for Shakespeare. The poem Shakespeare was first published in 1849. So, this is a very crucial era, but we have to remember another thing, that this poem actually was composed in 1840. So, it took 9 years to get published, and whenever this book was published, in the meantime, Samuel Johnson took a major step in criticizing the works of Shakespeare, in evaluating the works of Shakespeare. And then there appeared many other critics who also began their judging perspective into the works of Shakespeare, and then they sometimes gave their tribute to Shakespeare, while some became quite repugnant if their staunch remark about Shakespeare. But this poem was published, Shakespeare was given unanimously the tribute, the national poet of England. So there was no question about his greatness. Here, just let's begin the poem, and I think that after going through the poem, you will be able to understand each and every perspective of this poem. But one request I want to make through this video, that after going through this video, if you like that the theme or the poem that has been discussed here are commensurate to get a subscription, to get a like and comment, then please subscribe this channel and share this channel with your other friends, other students, so that they can also come into the ethnicity of this channel. So please subscribe this channel, because you know that to make a video it takes a long time, it takes a long planning, and after such type of planning and after such type of exposure, then comes the real existence of this video. So please subscribe this channel. So now let's begin the poem. Others avoid our question. Thou art free. We ask and ask. Thou smilest and art still. So here one thing we can come to know, the very beginning line, that is others avoid our question. Here question is the question which I have mentioned here already, that the question is the unquestioning authority of Shakespeare. whether Shakespeare is still a person, whether Shakespeare is still a great personality who can never be questioned, who must be beyond question. So, this is the actual historical context, but some of the critics are also try to explain this from different perspective. The fact is that others avoid our question. So here Matthew Arnold is clearly depicting a demarcation line between Shakespeare and many other writers who also wrote, who also produced their own works. And the fact is that whenever critics ask some question to those miniature writers, to those writers, then they also become quite answerable. Like means that as per the question, as per the demand, their books are really adjusted, their books are really explained. But Shakespeare is beyond that question. Shakespeare's works can never be put into any kind of question. So that's why Matthew Arnold is saying that others avoid our questions, but thou art free. But frankly speaking, you are free from such type of question. We can never make any kind of question mark into your work, into your integrity. So far, you have produced poems or dramas. In all kind of poems or dramas, we see your greatness. So therefore, you are beyond our question. We ask and ask, and we like means Matthew Arnold or many other critics, those critics who most often try to find out some of the inner meaning, some of the staunch meaning in the works of literature, those type of critics ask and ask. Like means that here those critics most often try to ask some question, raise objection and objection, but your greatness is so much that your works are so much gigantic that you really live beyond our any kind of asking. Thou smilest and art still. Shakespeare is just smiling at such type of question. So Matthew Arnold is clearly saying that thou smilest. So Shakespeare simply smiles and remain quite reposed, remain quite composed in his own attitude, as if he is not giving any kind of attention to those questions. And this is because Shakespeare is confident of his own writing. He knew very well that there must not appear any kind of question about his greatness, about his work, because his works are really perfect. His works are really a depiction of human life. Outtopping knowledge. Top means the uppermost level. So suppose that in your locality there is a topmost officer. That means that he is at the top of any kind of authority, any kind of administration. But outtopping means the person who is living at the very top, and someone just outtops the top level authority. That means that the top authority is subjugated by any other person who has much more capability than that top level person. So here Shakespeare's knowledge is just eluding the grasp of the outtopping knowledge. Those knowledgeable person, those person full of wisdom, they are still unable to have a grasp of the real meaning of the works of Shakespeare. Now, here lies the vivacity of Shakespeare's quality. Here lies the greatness of Shakespeare's quality. For the loftiest hill, who to the stars uncrown his majesty. Here we again find another simile which describes how much Shakespeare is great. Matthew Arnold knew very well that Shakespeare is really a gigantic figure in the field of English literature, and his gigantic figure, his gigantic appearance is here described very clearly with the help of a loftiest hill. Suppose that Mount Everest is still now considered as the highest peak in the world. If I ask the question, who can see every day the top of the Mount Everest? We, the common being, can never go there daily and can never see everything what is happening on the top of the Mount Everest. So, who can view the happening of the Mount Everest? The simple answer is that those persons who are above the Mount Everest, or those elements who are above the Mount Everest, they can see what is happening on the top of the Mount Everest. Here similarly this idea is given to us. First idea is that Shakespeare is great and his appearance, his personality, his characteristics are beyond the grasp of the common people's capability. So, what Matthew Arnold is trying to say, that for the highest hill, who to the stars uncrown his majesty. And this loftiest hill most often uncrowns, most often reveals his mystery, its majesty, to whom? To the stars. So, that means that the stars who are above the level of the uh, hill, they can see the mystery, the majesty of the hill. Similarly, Shakespeare is himself a real mountain like figure. He can never so easily be revealed, he can never easily be exposed to all of us. So, what we need to do? We need to become just like Shakespeare, we need to become the same level of Shakespeare to know him. Otherwise, we can never ever be able to understand the qualities of Shakespeare. So, here the comparison is just like the star and the mountain. The mountain is Shakespeare, and the stars are the aspirant critics who must need to be just like star to unravel the characteristics of Shakespeare. Otherwise, it can never be possible for any kind of critics, any kind of writers to have a clear understanding of the inner races of Shakespeare, of the literature of Shakespeare, of the production of Shakespeare. Now, next, planting his steadfast footstep in the sea, making the heaven of heavens his dwelling place. Planting is steadfast. Steadfast means conform, steady. Footstep in the sea. Actually, sea means the abysmal sea, which we don't know how much deep it is. And Shakespeare, if we compare this Shakespeare just like a mountain, we must have to say that the base of the mountain remains most often in the sea, and we don't know the exact location of the base. So, here we see that the planting his steadfast footstep in the sea. Shakespeare's uh, footsteps are still at the very depth of the earth, making the heaven of heavens his dwelling place. And his characteristics features, his greatness is so much that he is still now living. Where he is living? The heaven of heavens. Actually, heaven of heavens means the utmost place of heaven, the extreme level of the heaven. So, here Shakespeare is still now living at the top of the level. In this context, we must have to remember another word, pole asunder. Pole asunder means the dichotomy, the difference between the pole and the sky. So, if we want to mark the dichotomy or the difference, then we sometimes bring this analogy. Similarly, here Shakespeare's foot is at the very depth of the sea, but his greatness is so high that he is still living at the top of the heavens. That means that the pervasive nature of Shakespeare's work are so much so much evocating or so much felt by everyone that we only feel the permitting nature of Shakespeare. We only feel the presence of Shakespeare everywhere. In every composition, we can feel the presence of Shakespeare. Spares but the cloudy borders of his base to the foiled searching of mortality. Spares. So we have come to know that everywhere is Shakespeare, but still now we are unable to find out the actual meaning, the actual characteristics of his works. In short, we are really puzzled to get any kind of clear cut idea of Shakespeare's greatness. Spares but the cloudy borders of his base. So, if we try to find out the inner essence of Shakespeare's work, we are really falling behind because we don't have that capability, we don't have the mechanism to understand the works of Shakespeare. But still now, we only feel, what do we feel? The cloudy borders of his base. That means that the outer line. So, we don't have the inner access of the greatness of Shakespeare, but somehow we could feel the works of Shakespeare, and that is from the outer layer side. That means that we somehow feel the works of Shakespeare from the outer level. So that's why we don't have the capability of understanding his greatness, understanding his loftiness, and to the foiled certainty with the human being, we try to find a real meaning of the work of Shakespeare, but the actual fact is that to the foiled searching of mortality, we most often fail. Our attempts were foiled, our attempts become vain because we don't have that greatness, we don't have that level to understand Shakespeare. Matthew Arnold is clearly saying that we, the mortality, we, the common human being, don't have the capability, we don't have the wisdom, we don't have the knowledge to enumerate the works of Shakespeare, to analyze the works of Shakespeare. In fact, Matthew Arnold is paying his tribute. Matthew Arnold is paying his heartfelt tribute to Shakespeare in this way. And in fact, he is eulogizing Shakespeare along with his works, along with his greatness, along with his knowledge. And if we look into the another lines, another next three lines, that will be quite clear to all of us. And thou who didst the stars and sunbeams know. Here, the stars and sunbeams, actually, these are the element of nature. So, by these words, stars and sunbeams, the poet Matthew Arnold is clearly indicating the knowledge of nature. So, here Matthew Arnold is expressing his view that Shakespeare knows very well the stars and the sunbeams. So, Shakespeare knows very well the workings of nature because we saw in many of his poems, whether it is sonnet or his dramatic literature, we can see there the workings of nature, and there we have also seen the forest the natural workings, various kind of natural elements and their workings. So the these all these reflect Shakespeare's knowledge about nature. Matthew Arnold is saying that Shakespeare knows very well the stars and the sunbeams, self-schooled, self-scanned, self-honored, self-secure. And Shakespeare is a person who don't have any kind of formal education. We know this. We know very well that if we have a knowledge of the biography of Shakespeare, we come to know that Shakespeare had not any kind of formal education. So he taught himself, he gained his own knowledge, he learned everything by himself. So Matthew Arnold is saying that self-school. Shakespeare is a person who learned himself, who took the entire responsibility of refashioning himself, of rebuilding himself by gaining knowledge from any other sources, but he never went to school. Self-scant means he got his own perfection by himself. So whatever he wrote, he checked every time, he scanned every time, then produced into the public domain. So therefore, Shakespeare was self-scant and self-honored. That means that he was quite self-honored. He was quite respectable, and in his work, we most often see the reflection of his honor. He does not demean himself in any way. He always holds his own respect, and therefore he produced such type of works which are really brilliant, which are really gigantic. It is not that he only produced for the sake of the production. It is only for his own honor that he produced, and that's why we often see that he was patronized in several uh, royal families for his work, and self-secure, and his position in the field of literature is self-secure. So he himself secured his own position. He by writing, by producing his own gigantic works, by producing his own mammoth works, he secured his own position. So in no way his position can never be dethroned. His recognition, his fame, his popularity can never be diminished in any way. And here Matthew Arnold is clearly espousing the view that Shakespeare is still now alive in the heart of the literature lover for his own work, for his own quality, for his own personality. Didst tread on earth unguessed at, and whenever Shakespeare produced such type of works, his work is till now unguessed at. We can't never determine what will happen in future after reading few pages of Shakespeare's work, because in every pages of Shakespeare's work there is uncertainty, and there is full of puzzle, full of confusion. So it is not a guessable work. It is not a stereotype work. So his works are really unguessed at. So that's why Matthew Arnold is saying this, unguessed at. Better so, and Shakespeare is not only unguessed at, but he is to a certain extent better so. Shakespeare is getting a tribute from Matthew Arnold by these works better so. Matthew Arnold is saying that Shakespeare is in many respect or is in many respect better than his own work, than his own production too. All pains the immortal spirit must endure. So these are the last three lines which I am now explaining. All pains the immortal spirit must endure. Here many critics they have their here many critics have given their opinion of this word immortal spirit. Some critics say that immortal spirit means Shakespeare himself, and from this point of view we can mean the line such like that all pains the immortal spirit must endure. So the world, the domain where Shakespeare lived in his lifetime, so he got many pain, he had many experiences of pain and suffering, and those sufferings, those pains Shakespeare had endured in his lifetime. But another explanation is that immortal spirits are those characters, those famous immortal characters whom Shakespeare gave a life portraiture in his works, and so therefore all those famous characters, all those famous uh, kings and queens or the characters, they all have suffered immortal pains, and they all have endured such type of pains. All weaknesses which impairs, not only pains but also those weaknesses which makes a man enervate, which makes a man weak, all griefs which bow, and all those griefs, all those painful sufferings which makes a great figure to bow down, which makes a great personality to succumb to death, find their soul speech in the victorious bro. And all those have got a beautiful expression in the victorious bow. Victorious means a person who is enjoying victory, and bro we most of you know is connected with the wisdom or forehead. So here victorious bro means Shakespeare's capability of producing, Shakespeare's capability of writing. In short, Shakespeare gave beautiful expression in his work, the suffering, the painful experiences, and the griefs that most people succumb to death. So, in this way, Matthew Arnold is saying that Shakespeare is truly a great personality, still alive in the heart of the lover of English literature. So, this is the explanation which I have explained line by line. I think that this video has become quite big, but I expect from all of you that if you want to have a clear notion of this poem, you must watch this video till to the end. So thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe this channel.